Moses faced a seemingly impossible task. Go to the most powerful man in the world and demand that he let the Israelites go free. Even though God was on his side, Moses was nervous. What would happen if the Pharaoh didn't listen to him? How much suffering would Egypt need to endure before the ruler complied with his request? This is the story of how one man saved the Israelites from slavery. Moses' low-key life was disturbed when God appeared as a burning bush and told Moses about the misery faced by the Israelites. They were slaves under the brutal rule of their Egyptian leaders. Now God was sending Moses to free his people. Reluctantly, Moses accepted this mission. After meeting up with his more articulate brother Aaron, the pair headed to Egypt. Their path would not be easy. Moses and Aaron told the Pharaoh that God wanted him to set the Israelites free, but the stubborn Pharaoh was unwilling to listen to the brothers. Despite the setback, Moses wasn't shocked. God had warned him that the Pharaoh's heart had been hardened. To force the ruler to set the Israelites free, the Lord unleashed a series of horrendous plagues across Egypt. First, all the rivers in Egypt ran red with blood. Then, plagues of frogs, gnats, and flies filled the country. Livestock were given a mysterious illness. Next, God sent festering boils to afflict the Egyptians and their animals. Large, deadly hailstones fell across the country. Then, Egypt was covered with locusts. 3 days of darkness killed any remaining crops. But what happened next would take the suffering to a whole new level. Moses warned faithful Israelites to mark their houses with blood. This ensured God would spare them from the destruction to come. Throughout the night, all the firstborn sons in the kingdom were killed, including the Pharaoh's own son. Hearing the agonized wails of his people, the Pharaoh knew that he couldn't resist God any longer. He ordered Moses and his people to leave. But God wanted to prove his glory to the whole of Egypt. So he decided to perform one last miracle. The Lord hardened the Pharaoh's heart again, making him regret his decision. So, the Pharaoh sent out the entire Egyptian army to round them up. The Pharaoh chased the Israelites to the Red Sea, but Moses wasn't afraid. Stretching out his staff, the sea parted before them, and the Israelites passed through safely. But the Egyptians weren't so lucky. Once the Israelites were through, the path vanished, and the Egyptians were drowned beneath the waves. On the surface, this is a story about Moses staring down a powerful empire. But could it be hiding revelations about how God works? Though God shielded the Israelites from the worst of the plagues, Egypt would have still been a terrible place to live. Each plague brought the country to its knees. By the end, Egypt was completely broken. But for God's chosen people, this suffering was necessary. The plagues were needed to convince the Pharaoh to grant their freedom. This is an important lesson. Perhaps you feel like you are suffering and going through hard times. But as long as you keep faith, the pain will soon end.